So, how do we deal with all this negativity? The good news is that we all have sage powers that can meet these challenges. There weren't any real sound effects in the PowerPoint, so I had to create my own. When you switch on your sage, you gain access to all five powers. Empathize with yourself and others and bring compassion and understanding. Explore situations and discussions with great curiosity and with an open mind. Think of yourself as a fascinated anthropologist, for example. Innovate to create new perspectives and outside the box solutions for positive change. I love this one as an ideator, and in some cases, working with others to achieve that. Navigate, choosing a path from your perspectives or potential actions that best connects you with your deeper underlying values and mission. For example, at the end of this project, this year, or my life, looking back, will this matter or make a lasting difference? And then finally, activate, just taking decisive action, laser-focused action without the distress, interference, or distractions of your inner saboteurs that may offer reasons why you should not act. How many can relate to any of these? As saboteurs have a base of fear, the sage powers are based in love. Love of ideas, people, and more. If we have time, we're going to explore a power game to activate at least one of these powers if time allows. And in a moment, we'll share a few examples of when you've used one of these sage powers in your life. I'm going to give a quick example first. The explore power, for example. Think, again, fascinated anthropologist. I have a 14-year-old son who comes home and seems upset about something that happened at school. And I've had a long day myself. I'm not always in the mood to be sage-like. Who can relate to that? First, I'll catch some of my negative thoughts. Then I'll use more of these mini meditations that we've discussed. And then once I'm in a more sage state, instead of judging or reacting, I'll ask him questions like a fascinated anthropologist, digging in as objectively as possible to find the nuggets of details to better understand what's going on and then respond in a more sage way. And I'm not perfect. I think as parents, we all understand there's times that we wish we were more empathetic, we were better listeners and all that. And that's where the judge pops in. So, this is not a perfect science, but it does have opportunities to make progress, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So can you think of an example of when you've used one of these powers in your life before tonight? Feel free to type in the chat or come off mute to share. So again, can you think of an example of when you've used one of these powers in your life before tonight based on their descriptions? And I can repeat the details if you need me to.
So
I'm activating.
There, Mark.
Okay. Go ahead, Michelle.
So I work in the nonprofit world as a fundraiser, and I often find myself using the sage power of empathize to get me to understand better where my donors are coming from, because the more I understand what they want to give to, the better I am able to make a match within the organization of what it is they can give to and how they can make their gift be more meaningful to them.
It's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else? I see that there's a few in the chat. Navigate, empathize. Would anyone else like to jump in off the mute and give an example?
Yeah, I'll share with the Explore. What I notice is that with the different situations, I make assumptions, and those assumptions aren't always right. And so with the Explore power, we get a chance to explore the reality and validate our assumptions, rather than sort of assuming that our thought patterns or assumptions are always right. Exploration allows us to ask people, hey, where are you? What are you thinking? How did it happen? Those kind of questions, so that curiosity and exploration allows us to see the reality as it is versus the way we want it to be.
I love that. And, but there's the power game. I wasn't going to cover this, but there's something called, well, it's not as fascinating anthropologists, and one way you can interact with someone you may not agree with is find the 10% of what you think is true about their position, and then have a discussion around that.
It's like yes and right? Yes and right.
Yes, exactly. And you can say things like, what I like about that idea is, you notice that you don't say, I like that idea. You say, what I liked about that idea, because that's true. You may hate the idea and think it's garbage. But if you say, you pick that 10% and you say, what I like about that idea is, you say what you and like the yes and then you add to it. And that's one way to build that cooperation versus competition, you know.